Guys, and welcome to this tutorial. Here I'll show you how to use a texture to create an interactive shader. For this example, we'll use a painter. As a final product, first we'll make a camera and a mesh. The mesh is the mesh we'll be painting to. Let's set up the camera real quick. Yes, now that's done, we can add a material. I'll use the material override slot, use whatever you prefer. We'll make a shader. I'll use a painter. First, we don't need any vertex or lighting, so just remove that. Our texture needs to be a uniform so we can access it from outside the shader. I'll use a sampler 2D because I want a texture. Mine will be called painter texture, call yours whatever you like. Then we'll set the albedo, this is the color when you're working in shaders in 3D. We'll just blend between two possible colors, a red one and a green one, depending on what value there is in the texture. So for those who don't know, the fragment part of a shader runs for every pixel. So each pixel checks to the texture that we give it, hey, what color should I be? That's basically the logic over here. As you can see, it defaults to green. Well, let's save this and create a script. We don't need the process function, we just need two variables. The first is the image. Make sure to TypeScript it so you can actually use it later on. Secondly, we need the resolution of our image. I'm gonna go with the 64 by 64 image. It's big enough for now. In a ready function, we need to make sure to actually create the image. And we use it with image.create. This is a static function that Godot provides. We'll give our resolution for the width and the height. I'll use bitmaps, but we don't really call anything from it, so it doesn't matter. For the format, I'll use this format. It's a format that just uses one channel. If you want to blend between multiple textures, you might want to use a different format so you can parse more values. But right now, this would just make sure that we don't overuse our memory. We'll then make a function called update texture. This one we need to call every time we make a change to our image, because we just can't just parse the image to the shader. We need an image texture for that. Luckily, Godot provides a very simple function to convert those two. After we've converted them, we'll just get the shader we need. We'll do this by getting the material. And after we've got the material, we'll use the function setShaderParameter, a very useful function that Godot unluckily really hides in the documentation. We'll just first parse our the name of the variable and then what we want in the variable, our image texture, of course. Let's begin by making sure that we actually fill the image with a color. I don't know if this channel does it, but there are some channels that Godot defaults to null values, which is just a pain in the ass for your shader. Okay, now we have this, we need to get our input from the mouse. I'll use for that an Area 3D. And you can use anything that supports input detection. Because I don't want to do any physics with it, an Area 3D is fine. Let's set up a collision shape. Make sure the I value is not too high. And we will use the signal input to detect the input that happens on this Area 3D. First, we'll check what type of input it is. We only want if it's a mouse motion or if it's a mouse button press. So this type of detection is really useful anytime you want like a clickable button in Godot 3D, because secondly, we can just check if this is the left mouse button that's been pressed, and if it is, we know that someone clicked or dragged their mouse across the area. Well, that's done. We want to update the texture, of course. But before we do that, we need to change the texture. We're gonna do this by calling setPixelV on our image. This will just change one pixel value on the coordinates we'll parse. To get the coordinates, we need to make sure that we're in grid coordinates. So later we'll write a function for that. Right now I'll just call it and it will be an error. For the color, we'll just set the 0 color. Okay, let's write a function that gets a world position and gives a grid position. I chose a really easy name for that. I also use static typing as much as possible in Godot just to help yourself, because this way you make sure to always finalize your functions. We don't need the y coordinate for this because our values are in 2D. So the first variable I make is just discarding this y variable. Then we need to offset our position, because right now we get a value 1 to -1, but our grid is from 0 to 64. So we'll need to convert them 1 to -1 to 1 to 0. It's what we do over here. And then we can just multiply it by our resolution, make sure we give it the right data type as well. And then we have our position in the grid. And this is actually everything. So if we just run the project right now, we should see that it works. Yes, and there you go. As you can see, now my mouse input only when I press is detected, and it's sent to the shader, and it saves it to a texture as well. This is a really powerful type of shader. As you can see here, I've also made another demo where I also blend between vertex height. So this is like an interactive snow environment. You can have your character walk through and like actually have interaction with the environment. This type of tool is used widely for across a lot of different things. I hope you guys find it useful. There's also a GitHub repo in the description.